There was an article in the Mail after their court victory by one of the witnesses, a journalist at the Mail. There was many things in it, but the one I want to pick up was she alleged, this was a front page story, and we've spoken about it loads, where the Sussex courtiers and the King's courtiers met on a balcony. Now, she alleges that actually came to her from the Sussex aide. I mean, is that not one of the most damaging things that has been reported in that week?
It's one of the most damaging things. It's one of the most damaging things, but I don't think it's too good for the journalist, because the one thing you should do as a journalist, never reveal your source. So, either she's been told, Charlotte Griffiths, that that's good for their publicity after winning that case. But I mean, I was surprised she started naming sources.
But now it's out in the open. How can Team Buckingham Palace and Team Montecito ever work again together if that was the case? Because it's claimed in there, I don't think...
Well, I think it's right. I mean, we think it's right.
But how can they ever talk to each other again after that?
Well, they might not. We don't know.
Maybe they never will.
But the reality was, I believed although I was shocked that a journalist would start naming sources, which I think is pretty abhorrent.
The source wasn't named, it was just said an aide.
Yeah, but to be honest, there's only one. I mean, in the UK, there's not a team of people working for.
Well, there were two backbench. You've got a 50% chance.
Okay, well, I mean, we get when teams talking about Team Sussex. There's Liam Maguire in the UK and someone out in Montecito. There's not some army of people working for him. He's only got a cut. I mean, I know he's going to have to, and they better watch out for the jobs now, because I mean, he's got to find 30 million quid or whatever it is.
We will move on from this topic, but do you think that Buckingham Palace and Montecito can move on with the fact that it's now been revealed that that's where it came from?
It is damaging, but also I was
going... It was a private meeting, remember? We had a private meeting this week, private family gathering. This was allegedly a private meeting sitting on a balcony, and that got leaked out.
Well, it's not good for trust, is it?
Yes, and someone had obviously leaked it, because you can see in the photos, even at the time, and I know you and I have been asking around a lot in that time trying to find out who did leak it. I agree with you. It's dangerous to start revealing sources. But also, Harry's painted himself into such a corner with this, because you can't go to war with the press all the time when so much of what he does publicly relies on the press. And so it just looks like, because it looks hypocritical to have someone on your team obviously briefing the press about this meeting when obviously he's made such a big deal about...
Totally hypocritical. And it's also ridiculous. How can someone be a PR advising, trying to build relationships with journalists, working for someone that's suing, the press all the time? Of course, that's a very difficult job. But if if the press start revealing who their sources are, then that's the end of what we do in our trade. So, you're supposed to go to prison before you reveal your source. And yet people are just saying, oh, yeah, they told me that. Unbelievable.
Just to point out, it never ends, Rob. I mean, it's never going to be the end of there's always things happening with this family.
I don't think it's the end of journalism, but I don't think it's the end of the story. But I think if journalists start giving away their sources without protecting their sources, is the worst thing that could possibly happen in journalism. It's one thing you cannot do.
Right, final question before we move on to... we'll try to move on to the next topic. Who was the winner of last week?
In the end, Harry and Meghan getting this meeting with the King and the kids was a big win.
Who was the winner?
I would say Lily and Archie, because they saw their grandfather, but there were no other winners.
Yeah, fine. Right, so, Rob, you mentioned earlier about a podcast. You also... Joe Marler, so he was a former rugby player. He's a bit of a character, let's be honest. And he was in Traitors, and he was absolutely brilliant in the UK version of Traitors. He's got a podcast called Joe Marler Will See You Now. Harry appeared in it. Can I use the word banter? I don't often like the word banter, but it was 40 minutes of banter. The thing that jumped out to me was, and I don't know if this was banter, if it was jokes, if it was an attempt at a joke that failed. Harry says he's not ginger. He's Summer Auburn.
I think he was. I mean, my brother's a redhead, and this is his favourite thing to do. He always says, I'm not suggesting that maybe he was serious. Maybe this is the hill that Harry wants to die on. But I know that my brother's favourite thing is to say it's a strawberry blonde. I think it's a bit of a redhead bit, but I don't know. He should own it at this point. As you said, he's a man in his 40s.
Where does this chat sit with you in the week of, we had the family drama, we had him doing some nice charity things. Where does this podcast sit with you?
Well, 1 minute you're going on about railing against the pillars of the United Kingdom's established society. The next minute you're talking about ginger and other things.
All sorts of stuff. His grooming routine.
And I thought that was all. I mean, it's all stuff that you may get away with when you're 21, but not when you're 41. Is he going to be doing this in 10 years' time, playing the Harry, little banter lad type? I mean, it's getting a little bit. I mean, I thought some of it was totally unsavoury.
He's 41 years old now. It's a really good
point.
Grow
up, man. I think really, I think that if you are going to be taken seriously, start doing a few things that you should be taken seriously for. This is the sort of thing they started doing when they were when they were 20. And I thought the show actually, the stuff about whether you're ginger or not. I mean, frankly, is that the level of conversation they've reached? Honestly, what a load of old baloney.
I did laugh out loud a few times, but I don't like toilet humour, so that part I had to really skip over. I think there was just a heavy toilet humour, which I found quite surprising.
I thought it was pathetic. But remember, he did rail against his brother. They used to have this thing about William being bored and Harry and William then said, "Oh, you're ginger," and all this. And it was a joke that used to sort of happen a long time ago, and maybe he was, in his comments was sort of having a little pop at William. You never know, because there was always that banter about whether he's ginger or not, but who cares?
He did reference his evolving hairline actually in the interview, I noticed. I feel like he's an evolving hairline.
We did that on Friday when we were in Birmingham. He said he did in his speech, he said, I started just 13 years ago. Some people look a little bit older, some people look a little bit younger, some people have less hair than they did back then.
But we can't all have Matt's hairline.
That's true. That is not an evolving hairline. That's very firmly established. I do think he's owning the baldness a little bit more now. I don't know if he has a choice. I think he's just reached that point, but I did notice that he did bring that up.
But it was a rubbish show, though. I thought the whole show was a bit just a bit cheap, really. And what was the point of him appearing on it?
Well, the point of it was to talk about Invictus Games, but as it's just a complete symbol of what happened last week, it was meant to be about Invictus Games, but that just got lost within all the noise.
That's true.
That's exactly what happened, yeah.
It all got lost within the noise. As I said earlier, this was the thing. It should have been, it was such a clear playbook. He was going to come here. I don't think he's going to win over new legions of fans at any point, but here in Britain. But he was going to do what he does well, and that's the best shot he had. And as we said, it all got so noisy with everything else, you forgot what he was doing.
Is this Invictus Games, though? There was some talk about whether it would carry on long term anyway, and it does require a lot of money from governments wherever it's being hosted.
Oh, we've paid a lot of money. The British taxpayers have paid millions.
Is this something long-term that will continue? Because that really is, that's to his credit that he has enabled it to continue. But that was also being called into question.
But he's brought it back to Birmingham, as they pointed out on that show, because that's where the hospital was for soldiers when they were taken back to Afghanistan. So it's almost like they're calling it like their spiritual home. So I think they want to make this one absolutely huge, get the most coverage, so they do get more money, they do get more sponsors in the future. There's a lot resting.
A lot riding on this, absolutely. Yeah.
Good news, everybody. Did you know, and I only found out on the way to the studio this morning, this wonderful news that With Love Meghan is nominated for a daytime Emmy. Is that a surprise?
Yes. Look, I've always said we don't know what we want to do with Meghan. You don't want her in royal life. Totally get that. She has to go and get a job and earn money somehow. So she's launched the show. My biggest complaint about the show was just that I found it quite boring. So I am shocked. I mean, it was glossy. It was nicely produced. It just didn't have a lot of substance. I was actively bored. So when I saw that it had been nominated, I was surprised.
I'm pretty sure her dad, Thomas, won. I think he's got 2 Emmys.
Lighting. Was
it a Grammy? Emmys or Grammys?
He got a lighting, didn't he? It was a lighting.
He won Emmys, yeah.
But what's the quality? What do you have to do to get nominated for an Emmy? How does it work? It must be quite a low bar, is all I would say.
Was it Outstanding Lifestyle Series?
Nominated for Daytime Emmy for Outstanding that one.
I don't know. I mean, how many lifestyle series are there? Maybe it just wasn't a very crowded field this year.
But look, she's still out.
She gets on with it, doesn't she?
She still gets on with it because do you remember? I think you broke the story about MasterChef. That's coming out now.
Yes, yes. Actually, I wrote about this yesterday. That episode's airing at the end of next week.
Have you seen it?
I've not seen it yet, no, but I've seen the promos. I mean, MasterChef people love it, but it's kind of With Love Meghan in that there's not going to be any big news headlines out of it.
So Charles and Camilla did that in Australia as well, didn't they?
Yeah, it's very family friendly. But I'm trying not to use the word beige. MasterChef is a good show, but it's.
No, we're not going to be tuning in.
No, but we had all the. I do want to just see when I'm watching it if I can sense tension, because I did break the story about the drama behind the scenes when they were filming that day.
What? Because she was called Duchess of Sussex.
Yes, I don't.
Tell us more.
So that was, I was told that they were standing outside the doors. So they do the big entrance. So you have the judge, Pauline Yeo in Australia, introduced her and used the phrase Duchess or royalty. And apparently her and her team were, I was told, very frustrated by that. But again, I find that confusing.
Why?
Well, they said, I think
she uses it on her cards.
But I'm the same. I'm confused by it. They were frustrated by it. She apparently didn't hear it being said and only saw it in the promo, which came out later that day, which was in the middle of this Australia tour.
What's the expression? Methinks she protested too much. Yeah. What a load of nonsense.
But they also said Markle in that, which was interesting because, of course,
Sussex.
Well, exactly. Famously, the Mindy Kaling quote. So anyway, I will watch the episode to see if I can sense any tension, because as we know, she was, not happy.
Great. Well, I can't wait to not watch it. So there was an amazing juxtaposition. There often is. The royal weeks are often very well planned. And I want to talk about a couple of events from the week. We didn't see, as we pointed out many times, we didn't see Meghan, didn't see Archie, didn't see Lilibet. Just to point out, no one was actually running around chasing after them. So it'll be interesting to see if they bring them back next time. It wasn't like there was, mass press packs searching the country for them. People just weren't doing that. But there's just two things I want to pick up. Well, actually, one thing at the beginning. Did you see that William went to Hastings, which is the home of 1066, obviously, the Battle of Hastings, where William the Conqueror defeated a Harold.
With an arrow in his eye.
Do you think that was like a deliberate little cheeky thing to kind of poke
Well, he
fun?
won the golf, didn't he? He won the crazy golf, William. I think he did rather well. I don't think so, but it was quite fun, wasn't it?
Because I was a little bit slow to the party, and then when
I think it's a great little line, actually. I might nick it for
one in the eye.
Well, you two work with the palace.
One in the eye for William, and as he conquers over her. I did think the thing that was also significant was how much we saw of Catherine and the children at the
100%.
weekend.
Let's get on to that.
And when there was obviously the polo match, the charity matches that William was riding in, and there was Catherine looking $1 million, as always, very chic in a summer
3
dress.
days in a row.
And then we had Wimbledon, bang, and then there were no backs of heads there. We had Ed George and we had Charlotte, impeccably behaved, looking fantastic, there in the show, a little bit of fun. I always feel a bit sorry for Louis. He doesn't seem to ever get invited, I don't know why. But, it was a long period. But then all this at the same weekend Lily and Archie met their grandfather, so in all secret. So this was royalty in plain sight. This was the future family being seen and showing what's good about the monarchy, actually, good about the royal family. Very British day out at Wimbledon, impeccably behaved kids, looking great, and everyone having a good time.
Well, they're showing what you can do, that you don't have to hide away, that you can actually get out, show yourself and behave, and everyone loves you. That there is a way to do it.
You guys, both of you have obviously worked in the royal space for a while, and you speak to people within the palace. How deliberate was all of these outings, do you think? Was this a deliberate...
They were very busy last week. The royals had a lot of engagements, and if you think, they went to a zoo, King driving around in a tank, go to the Battle of Hastings.
Very attention-grabbing.
There was a lot of things, but I think the polo was always going to happen. She always goes. I've been many years. She's often there, and they always go to Wimbledon. So I think it was just...
Yeah, it's timing again, but at the same time, it's the way they did it.
The way they did it.
And, and I think that William has certainly got one eye on the future, and that eye will obviously include his children and the role that they will play. And there are certain opportunities where you can let the public see them. And they are an important part of the future. They are the future royal family. But I think he's doing it, him and Catherine are doing it very well, actually. I think that there's no drama. There was no drama about that. It was just announced, by the way, the children will be going. And so people are aware it's going to happen. Very smooth, very slick. And it just happened. Whereas the whole thing about, Lily and Archie and the King and Meghan, and it was just a drama from the beginning to end. It started when Liam issued the whole programme of events. Then that all changed because it was being changed on an hourly basis by his boss. I mean, it was all a bit unfortunate, wasn't it? And unfortunately, the whole thing doesn't sit well for the future of the royal family. There's definitely a divided crown here. And the future is clearly they're almost on their separate path. They're almost above everything else. That's the Wales family with their kids, and I think they do a very good job.
They do a good job, but I don't think it's easy. I don't think what they do, it looks easy.
No, it's not
Catherine
easy.
turns up, looks wonderful, smiles, is lovely to people, and everyone just adores her. I've been watching it, and I think that's difficult. I'm interested to
She's really done. She's got it. I think after what she's been through, and we shouldn't, pass that over, but she's doing a terrific job at the moment. I mean, if you see, I think they'll probably start doing more, for the government going forward. But the fact is, at the moment, they've had that period of time where they've been trying to get to terms with what happened to Catherine, and they're moving on very well, I think, and they're being seen a lot more, and they are really. They're doing the job that the monarchy is supposed to do.
Is there anyone comparable? So Catherine walks into Wimbledon, the whole place stands up and gives her a round of applause. Is there anyone, in UK or maybe the world that has that power?
No.
It is so much bigger than celebrity. It's just there is, as you say, it's that power. She walked in that video of her walking into Wimbledon, as every year it happens. That is all over my every social media feed because people are captivated by it. They love it, and that's her simply entering the arena. And I think that's what she's so good at harnessing. That's the thing. She's worked out.
Well, I haven't seen anything like. I used to be around when Princess Diana was. Then she'd walk in a room and there was a real aura. But I think that Catherine has that aura too. And I think the only other person I ever really saw had that impact was her late Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II.
100%.
And I think that everybody else, it's lower down. The King obviously he's the King and he has that sense of of history when he walks into a room, but those three women I think really captured something that which is incredibly special.
It's great to see a great antidote to all the drama of the week. I think seeing Catherine with the children.
All they had to do was go out and do their jobs, and they did it very well at a time when it was the perfect comparison. And this is exactly what I was saying about Harry not having the restraint going into this. He could have just gone in, hit all the marks that he needed to hit, and carried on. But instead, it was a huge own goal because he got in his own way once again.